Now to another story that we broke on this program last night. Australia's Home Affairs Minister, Clare O Neil, has called Donald Trump Jr. a sore loser and a big baby. The opposition claims the comments could derail or sabotage our AUKUS agreement should Trump Sr. get back in the White House. As you know, this all started as we went to air last night when we broke the news that Trump Jr.'s speaking engagement had been postponed. His promoter, Damian Costas, told us that Trump Jr.'s visa had not yet been issued. Trump Jr. was due to fly to Australia today ahead of his first speaking engagement in Sydney this Sunday. Without knowing whether he was going to be allowed into the country or not, they pulled the pin on the entire thing. In a statement, the promoters, Turning Point Australia, said, Turning Point Australia have today announced that they have been forced to postpone the Trump Live speaking tour due to the delay in the arrival of a visa for Donald Trump Jr. to enter Australia. They said the visa, which has now been issued, was only received late in the afternoon of Wednesday, the 5th of July, only 24 hours before Donald Trump Jr. was set to board a flight to Sydney. Damian Costas, the promoter, claimed Trump had submitted the visa application in May. The government hasn't commented or confirmed that timeframe. But the Albanese government was accused of cancel culture for delaying issuing the visa until so late in the piece that the speaking engagement would have to be cancelled. Turning Point said the same tactic was used against Conservative commentator Nigel Farage last year. They said Nigel Farage faced the same visa issue in 2022 for his own speaking tour, which was issued only 24 hours before he arrived in Sydney. Well, the Albanese government today hit back. First, Labor MP Graham Perrott on my show last night blamed poor ticket sales. And this ticket sales line was again repeated today by Immigration Minister Andrew Giles when he was asked why the visa was issued so late.
At the moment, you're surmising about what might have happened. I think it'd be a good idea to hear from the minister responsible, and also it'd be good to know from the promoter how the ticket sales were going. My understanding is the ticket sales were tanking. That might have been part of the problem, but I'm sure as a journalist you'll get the facts right before we make a decision.
I don't know about the ticket sales, but we have spoken to the promoter.
Ticket sales would be the key thing.
How do you know about the ticket sales,
Did they
Graham
mention
Perrott?
that?
Who are you getting that information about the ticket sales from?
It's on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
From who?
The visa was dealt with in the normal manner. Any issue that Mr. Trump has or his promoters have that go to the postponement of the tour is a matter entirely for them. It may of course be that the reason for the postponement goes to the lack of enthusiasm for ticket sales.
Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Paterson said we need to know what process the Australian government took and if politics played any role in this delay.
It is incumbent on the department to demonstrate that it handled this in the orthodox way, and then if it's able to do so, then that's one thing. But if there was any kind of political interference, that would be a concern.
And that was James speaking to Andrew Bolt last night. Now, it could be true that ticket sales were low, although the promoter denies it. But even if they were, it doesn't detract from the fact Trump Jr.'s visa didn't come through until yesterday. He was due to hop on a flight today. That's very late notice, and the government would have known this. If it was slightly unusual to hear the Immigration Minister speaking about ticket sales, his more senior counterpart, who holds one of the most senior portfolios in the government, Home Affairs Minister Clare O Neil, well, she went even further. She fired off two impulsive tweets that the opposition that James Paterson has described as juvenile. And there was an immediate backlash to her tweets. About an hour after she sent them, Clare O Neil deleted them. Here they are on the screen. She writes, geez, Donald Trump Jr. is a bit of a sore loser. His dad lost an election fair and square, but he says it was stolen. Now he's trying to blame the Australian government for his poor ticket sales and cancelled tour. She also tweeted, Donald Trump Jr. has been given a visa to come to Australia. He didn't get cancelled. He's just a big baby who isn't very popular. So to repeat, that's the Home Affairs Minister, Clare O Neil, calling Donald Trump Jr., the former president's son, potentially the future president's son, a big baby who isn't very popular. So about an hour after she sent these tweets, Clare O Neil deleted them. We understand she was pressured to do so by Labor's leadership team, who were irritated by the distraction and tone of her remarks. It's a question that we put to Foreign Minister Penny Wong today. Sky News put to Foreign Minister Penny Wong today. She wouldn't comment on who had asked Clare O Neil to take the tweets down. She would only say that the tweets had been deleted.
Well, I understand the tweet's been deleted.
But what do you make of those?
I understand the tweet's been deleted. I'm not going to get into commentary. I understand the tweet's been deleted, and I think the Prime Minister today has already responded to the broader issue about the visa and made the clear point that this, as in any other visa, was treated equally. A decision about who is going to be, the Prime Minister of New Zealand or the President of the United States or the Chancellor of Germany is a decision for those countries.
But this all exposes an issue that's far greater than Trump Jr.'s visit to Australia or the people who paid money to see him. What this incident exposes is the barely disguised contempt by Albanese government ministers towards United States Republicans and in particular the Trumps. The US is our most important ally, our most important national security partner, and there's every chance Donald Trump could be president again. Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Paterson indicated this attitude from the likes of Clare O Neil could have implications for Australia should Trump get back into the White House. He tweeted, "Like it or not, Trump could be elected president again in less than 18 months. If that happens, I hope for the sake of the AUKUS agreement that cabinet ministers in national security portfolios are able to restrain themselves from juvenile tweets like these." Donald Trump is currently sitting well ahead of Ron DeSantis and the many other candidates for the Republican nomination. A national NBC News poll shows 51% of Republican voters prefer him to Ron DeSantis. Despite the 4 investigations into Trump's conduct, the reality is he's likely to be the Republican candidate for President of the United States, even if he ends up in jail. We heard US Senator Rand Paul indicate that Donald Trump could run from prison. It's not without precedent. It's happened before, although not by a leading presidential candidate.
So you can from jail. It's not the ideal location for campaigning, but you can run from jail. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
And that from my interview with Rand Paul last week. Dismissing Trump, believing that such a divisive and chaotic figure could never be elected president, is the same mistake the Australian government had made before the 2016 election. No one had bothered to get a phone number for Donald Trump's transition team because they didn't think he'd win, but they had all the details for Hillary Clinton's people. And when Trump was unexpectedly voted in as president, there was a sudden scramble to find a phone number so our then Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, could congratulate him. As I revealed in this front page story in November 2016, Turnbull ended up being the second world leader to speak to Trump after golfing legend Greg Norman passed on his private number and set up the phone call within hours of his shock win. Writing off Trump, calling his son a big baby and a sore loser, is clearly a foreign policy blunder that the Labor government would be howling about had a coalition minister described Hunter Biden in similar terms.
Trump Jr.'s visa was dealt with in the normal way. And like anyone else, he was entitled to come here. The deferral of his travel is a matter for him.
It is absolutely appalling, especially coming from a senior minister. You know, we've just stopped talking about Japan and we're a sovereign risk. Let's not also become an embarrassment to the United States.